focused on that we've talked about on this show. And the subtlety in the way in which you approached it, I think, was certainly appreciated.
Oh, wait. Did I hear subtlety with a Spike Lee joint?
Yeah, no, it was subtle.
I never heard that word before.
No, but listen, let me explain. So we talk about the disparities in the coverage of and the search for missing people of color. And you had just the mention of ebony alerts,
Right.
and that not being passed and made law in New York State. Why was that important?
Right. Any film I do, there's an opportunity to slip in some stuff that critiques what's happening in the world. I do it, and hopefully without making the story, off the rails. But there's a way, that you could do it and just, have these little things out there and people think about. And it's been well demonstrated that missing children, people of color, are not given the same, what you want to call it, as other people get it. So that was a place to get that, and a little nugget in there, but not really get off the story.
Yeah, subtlety. We caught it.
Oh, what's that word again?
Subtleties, Mike. Subtlety. So let's.
Well, you know what? I'm getting older.
Mellowing out.
You know what? But yeah, I don't have to be throwing the garbage can through Sal's Famous Pizzeria anymore.
You know what? Actually, I'm glad you bring that up. Because that transitions to some of the other stuff I want to talk about. And let's talk about things that are happening in the world. This week we learned that the White House is now going to conduct this review of Smithsonian properties, including the the Museum of African American History and Culture, where, Radio Raheem's radio is, and other artifacts from Do the Right Thing and from your films. Your portrait is at the National Portrait Gallery. And so I wonder what you think, as someone who's been outspoken about this administration and other political matters. What do you think about this this review that, according to the White House, is to make sure that it's removing divisive or partisan narratives and restore confidence in our shared cultural institutions? What do you think?
Well, it's doing the opposite. And when they moved Dr. Martin Luther King's, is a statue or a painting? I knew they moved it. My Morehouse brother, I just knew that that was the beginning, that it wasn't going to stop just moving Dr. Martin Luther King from where it was. And this is the state of this country where they just, they keep going and it says that slavery and slavery never happened. That's next. And slavery never happened. Our ancestors weren't taken from Mother Africa and brought here in 1619 and built this country. Free labor. So there's a great film by Peter Weir, starring Mel Gibson, his own politics. But the title of that movie is The Year of Living Dangerously. And that's where we are now. Peter Weir's film. The title, for me, is chilling now. The Year of Living Dangerously.
So you were also one of, I think it's now more than 2,000 members of the Writers Guild of America who signed on to this letter, open letter. And here's one line from it. We don't have a king, we have a president. And the president doesn't get to pick what's on television, in movie theaters, on stage, on our bookshelves, or in the news. What do you think, the end goal of these types of assessments and reviews? What's the end goal?
The end goal is that to let this administration know that we know what's up. We know this is okie doke. And also alert our fellow Americans who might not know what's going down now. So going on record saying We see what you're doing.
And what do you
We see what you're doing.
What do you think they're trying to do? What do you think their purpose is?
To roll back the clock. To roll back the clock. And what's interesting is that the world leaders, they know what's going on here too. The citizens of the world know what's happening here in the United States, formerly the so-called beacon of democracy. It don't look like that now.
And you don't think America is still the beacon of democracy?
You know, you got to choose countries or people, individuals by their actions. And I don't think that the actors now in this administration show that doesn't look like the beacon of democracy. Beacon of democracy to me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm just one kid from Brooklyn, New York. So what are we going to say?
You know, this is the question that
An old kid.
An old kid now. A question I've had several times to several artists is that how much does the political environment influence the art? And specifically in your case, what's funded? Like, could Do the Right Thing get funding today in this environment to be made?
Yeah, I think so. That film only cost $6.5 million. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up that point, my brother, because Do the Right Thing was done knowing that in that fall it was going to be the mayor's. You know, Koch had to go, in my opinion, and we had graffiti in the film saying "Dump Koch." So that was made specifically in that tense racial era in New York City, and wanted David Dinkins to be the first African American mayor, and he won. And I'm not saying it was the film that did that, but there was this feeling like Koch had to go. There was too many racial BS, you know, going around, and then if you look at it in the Do the Right Thing, Ray Rahim is choked to death and in a chokehold by NYPD, which prompted the character I played, Mookie, to throw the garbage can through the window of Sal's famous pizzeria.
Yeah.
Great cast, Daniela,
Yeah.
John Turturro, Richard Edson, Ruby, D, Ozzie Davis. I mean, it was a landmark film.
A classic.
And also, we were talking about global warming in that film. We were a lot of stuff. We had the crystal ball on. You know.
Yeah. Speaking of New York City mayors, let's talk about Zohran Mamdani. Have you backed him for mayor?
Not officially, but I'm going to vote for him.
Well, that's the same thing, I imagine.
I guess this makes it official.
I guess that makes it official. Let me ask you, why? Why does he have your vote over former Governor Cuomo, Mayor Adams? Why Mamdani?
We have to move forward. For equality for New Yorkers to make this, again, the greatest city in the world. And you look at the people who are backing these other candidates, you know, they're in the past. So he's ahead now. But look, you know, I'm a big sports fan, and I've been in too many games where you think the game is over, and then, especially being a Knicks fan. So I'm not counting my chicken. Look, I'm gonna, you know, and also yes, this is official endorsement. You know, so.
The best vitamin for sciatic nerve pain will absolutely shock you. If you have sciatic nerve pain, there's
This is the year living dangerously. That applies to New York City, not just United States of America.
Yeah. We are about the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. And of course, you directed the phenomenal 4-part series, When the Levees Broke. You're now executive producer of another series, Katrina Come Hell and High Water. What does the
Yeah, I did. There's 3 episodes. I did the last one.
the
3.
third episode? What does
Yes, sir.
the scope of time tell you about the impacts of not just the storm, but everything that happened after that?
In my opinion, New Orleans has never recovered from that. They've lost a large base of the black population who moved to better lives in Houston, Atlanta, Charlotte, and it's a national shame that New Orleans is still struggling 20 years later. And so I was asked to come aboard on this with my brother Sam Pollard, who was leading the way. And it was heartbreaking to see people still struggling 2 decades after that.
Is that
You know, it's a national shame.
Is that the failure of leadership, or is that the consequence of displacement?
It's a whole gang of people that could be pointed at, and it's excuse my language, but it's a goddamn shame. You know, the culture, so much culture comes out of New Orleans, and it's like. The reason I feel that we needed to do is to remind people 20 years later what happened 20 years ago and how little progress has happened to save American citizens.
Yeah. One more here.
The year of living dangerously.
The year of living dangerously. You've been outspoken about Israel's war with Hamas and the impact on Palestinians. What's your assessment of how Hollywood has addressed this or handled it?
Well, I don't think Hollywood's going to do any. I don't expect any films coming out of that, maybe documentaries. But here's the thing, my brother. And I say this with all, whatever the word is. Seeing these pictures of these children, Palestinian children, starving. And I got to give a shout out to my Jewish Brooklyn brother, Bernie Sanders, where I saw this clip where he had a stack of papers, and each page was a Palestinian child that was killed. I got to give it up for Bernie. He's Jewish, but something about that Brooklyn. He got there and had the stack of papers, and each page was an article or a document about this young Palestinian child was killed. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that what is happening there. And I like to say this too. And it should not be a place where if you say you're against what's happening in Gaza, that automatically makes you anti-Semitic. I'm aware of this. I did a film, Jungle Fever, where I was considered anti-Semitic. And my Jewish lawyer, the great Arthur Klein, called me up and said, Spike, if you don't write, and everybody here, you can do the research. Do the research. He called me up and said, Spike, if you don't write an op-ed piece for the New York Times saying you're not anti-Semitic, you will never work again in Hollywood. He said, Spike, I'm not telling you as your lawyer, I'm telling you as a friend. And I said, how am I going to get an op-ed piece in the New York Times. He said, don't worry about it. People do the research, look it up. And I wrote that because I believed him. He said, Spike, if you don't write a letter saying you're not anti-Semitic, you will never, ever, ever, ever work in Hollywood again. I'll leave it at that.
Spike, thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Keep doing your thing, all right?
I appreciate
I
it.
know it's tough. Come on, brother. All right.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.